Hello, I'm Dr. Vanita Rattan. I'm a medically qualified doctor and a cosmetic formulator specifically for skin of color. So today's video is a highly requested one. It is reviewing every Korean mineral SPF50 sunscreen on the internet to see if it matches up to the big brands or whether it fails and leaves a white cast. Sunscreens are incredibly difficult to formulate. I failed many times before we actually created Inzincable. This was the world's first mineral sunscreen for skin of color. You basically have about 17% zinc oxide, which looks like chalk. I need to make it look invisible on skin of color. It's tough. So I am highly critical of all sunscreens and highly skeptical of the Korean sunscreens I'm reviewing today, despite a lot of them having 5-star online reviews. In the last year, Korean skincare and sunscreens have exploded on social media, which is not surprising. They have gentler ingredients and the formulas seem to be a little bit more elegant. So let's see how well they do. There are two types of sunscreen: chemical, which are cheaper and you find in every drugstore, and mineral sunscreens, which tend to have zinc oxide or titanium dioxide in them. They are far harder to find and they are more expensive, but I prefer them for skin of color because they're anti-inflammatory and they don't enter the bloodstream. This is the reason we say to pregnant women to wear mineral sunscreens, not chemical sunscreens. However, as I said before, they are more expensive because zinc oxide is expensive, and imagine you're using 17% of it, but also they're hard to formulate with to get no white cast, which is our biggest problem. Starting off with Numbuzin, this one has gone viral. It has a rating of 4.1 on Amazon out of 541 reviews. On Google, when I type in Korean mineral sunscreen, this product came up as #1. So let's check the ingredients, and don't forget they're in descending order. So the first ingredient is water, which you're going to find in all emulsions. Then there are emollients, which tends to keep the skin feeling soft. The third ingredient here is titanium dioxide, which is your mineral sunscreen, which I love. The fourth ingredient in here is diethyl amino hexyl benzoate. That's a chemical sunscreen, not a mineral sunscreen. So actually, Google, you got it wrong. This is a hybrid. So there are a couple more emollients, and then there's hydrogenated polyisobutene, which can be irritating if you have sensitive skin. Then you've got butylene glycol, which is a moisturizer, plus glycerin. These are my favorite humectants. Humectants basically hold water in the top layer of skin. That's how it works. But because these ingredients are quite low down on the ingredients list, it means that they're at a very low percentage. So actually with this product, you're not going to find much hydration. The 12th ingredient in here is niacinamide, which means that it's about 0.5 to 1%, i.e. very low. What we tend to recommend actually with niacinamide is for the 2 to 5% range. That's where most clinical data has proven niacinamide to work. So this is pretty low and it's really more for marketing. Everything else in here is a fraction of a percent, meaning not in the therapeutic index. And so again, more for marketing rather than actual benefit to your skin. So actually it's not terrible white cast. There is a slight white cast. It does take a couple of minutes for it to go, but actually white cast wise, I'm happy. I'd give this a rating of 5 out of 10 because it's not a pure mineral sunscreen, but at least it's fragrance free and it contains niacinamide and the white cast isn't terrible. Moving on to Dr. Jart SPF43 PA3+. This is another one that has gone viral, but let's check how good it really is. Okay, so the first ingredient here is water, which makes sense because it's an emollient. Then it's got cyclopentasiloxane. This is a silicone, and that's what gives that smooth feeling. It's one of my favorite ingredients actually to formulate with. I use it in that antioxidant power serum because it allows all the ingredients to penetrate evenly because of this smoothness. The next ingredient in here is zinc oxide, and this worries me a little as mineral sunscreens need to aim for approximately 17%. So if you imagine this is an emulsion and water is at 70% minimum, then the second ingredient should ideally be zinc or titanium dioxide to reach this percentage. Having said that, the fourth ingredient in here is titanium, so it might just make SPF 43 with these both combined. However, for skin of color, I tend to recommend SPF 50. So actually we need a higher concentration of these actives. The negatives of this product is that it's loaded with fragrance. It's got bergamot fruit oil plus limonene and linalool. Don't forget that for skin of color, we can't afford any irritation to the skin because it can lead to hyperpigmentation. And this is why I always opt for fragrance-free for my skin of color family. Don't forget, it does have a relatively low percentage zinc and titanium, so it should be easier to penetrate. And it is actually, it doesn't really leave a white cast. I will be trying it on my face as well. The smell is terrible though. This is a mistake to go out into the sun where strong UV is now going to hit the skin and you have an irritant on the skin. I'm sorry, Dr. Jart, you get a 4 out of 10. Moving on to the third product, this is Klairs. How many of you asked me to review the whole of the Klairs range? If you still want me to review the whole Klairs range, can you write it down below? Because I am going deep into Korean skincare and investigating if it is good for my skin of color family or not. So don't forget to write that down below. Now this has got SPF50 PA 4+. This means maximum protection. And it has a very interesting formula. The second ingredient in here is zinc, and the 9th ingredient in here is niacinamide. The 11th ingredient in here is glycerin. So glycerin, as you know, is my favorite humectant. So glycerin I actually prefer over sodium hyaluronate because sodium hyaluronate, it can be too drying actually to the layers of skin beneath. Because it's such a powerful water magnet, it can actually absorb water from the lower levels and bring it up to the epidermis, versus glycerin, which is not as powerful but is gentler for our skin. This is why I always formulate with glycerin. In here, it's also got panthenol, which I love. It's an anti-inflammatory and it's also great for our skin, especially if you're prone to getting melasma or hyperpigmentation. Then it's got ceramides. Ceramides is very important as well because for skin of color, we have less ceramides in our skin than Caucasian skin. And so actually that is an ingredient that we want to be looking for. It's also got ectoin, and this is one of my new favorite ingredients, and I'm actually using it in a secret formula I'm working on for you, which I can't talk about right now. Ectoin is an extremolite. It protects the skin from dehydration, extreme temperatures, and a host of other environmental stresses. Plus it's a powerful humectant. This product is fragrance-free, and I would actually give it 8 out of 10. They've done an excellent job. I'm very happy with it. There's always room for improvement for skin of color because we tend to get hyperpigmentation. If there are any other ingredients that help with hyperpigmentation, it would have a higher rating, but actually 8 out of 10 is really very good. Let me just clean my hand, guys, because we need to check what the next sunscreen looks like. Otherwise, I'm just layering sunscreen on top of sunscreen. Moving on to Access White Complete No Stress Physical Sunscreen. I've heard less about this online, but it promises a lot. Let's check. So it starts off with water, which makes sense. Then silicones, which gives you a smooth feel. As you know, I love it. Third ingredient in here is zinc, and the fourth is titanium dioxide. So I would say, again, it's tough to get SPF 50 with this. I really like this packaging though. So it is tough to get SPF 50 with these percentages, but it is possible. The 8th ingredient in here is niacinamide. So again, it's at about 2%, which I love. It also contains one other extra goodie that I love, and that's adenosine. Adenosine basically boosts production of collagen and elastin, so it keeps the skin firm and elastic, so you get that bounce back feeling. This is non-comedogenic, non-irritating, decent when it comes to white cast. I would give this a good 7 out of 10. Moving on to I'm Pure Perfect Kicker. It's SPF 50 plus PA4+, again, maximum UVA protection. It's got 11.6% zinc oxide plus 3.1% titanium dioxide. This gives 14.7% mineral protection. This is actually pretty low, and I'm surprised this has hit SPF 50. I've failed often at anything less than 17%. So I'm not sure, to be honest, but let's have a look at the ingredients list at least. Starts off with water, which makes sense, then cyclomethicone, which smooths the skin, then zinc, so i.e. the third ingredient. The positives of this product are the skin soothers. For example, it's got centella. It has a very unique ingredient that's specific to Korean sunscreen called Hutenia extract. Plus it's got sunflower seed oil. It's fragrance-free, but not really got much else in it. It blends well, which is unsurprising as it has a very low zinc percentage. It's okay if it actually hits SPF 50 rating. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Moving on to Heartleaf SPF 50 PA4+. So it's got 5-star reviews out of 479 reviews on YesStyle. That's actually pretty high. Looking at the ingredients list, it's water, which makes sense, and then zinc, which I love that it's at the second ingredient. And I've also used Hutinia extract. This is an antioxidant and a soother. Again, it's very unusual in Western skincare, but it's quite common in Korean skincare. Plus I added in butylene glycol and glycerin, actually quite high up, which I love. And it means that it's going to be very hydrating. Up until this point, I love this product, but then they added citrus oil and lavender oil. These are both irritants, and it was a mistake. I mean, this is feeling lovely, moisturizing it into the skin. You can literally wear this as a moisturizer because of the humectants, the water magnets, but they really made a mistake. Oh, I mean, it really stinks. I feel like you're gonna attract all the bees. It really has that kind of smell. That's a mistake because you do not want to go out into the UV rays with this on the skin because of the higher chances of irritation, which can lead to hyperpigmentation in my skin of color family. Unfortunately, Hot Leaf, this gets a 4 out of 10. Next is Prem, the most expensive by far, so I wonder how it compares to everything else. Don't forget, I am in the comment section for the launch of every YouTube video, so when you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell so you can come and ask me your questions. You can also ask me your questions on Instagram, TikTok, and our private Facebook group. So this is $30, and the second ingredient here is zinc, so well done, Prem. Then they've added in silicones, which is beautiful. It's a very simple formula, actually. There's no other actives. There are some fruit extracts, not many humectants, which is why you're not going to get much moisturization from this. I would give this a rating of 6 out of 10, just because it doesn't have much in it, and actually for my skin of color family, you're going to struggle to rub this one in. Moving on to Benton Skin Fit Mineral Sunscreen SPF50 PA4+. Says at $20, it's very well priced. So the second ingredient in here is zinc oxide, and I am actually struggling to see how they're manufacturing this at such a cheap price. Zinc is very expensive, and at 17%, I'm really not sure whether they're just finding cheaper zinc, to be honest, in Korea than we're finding here, and that is a very real possibility. The third ingredient in here is silicone and then emollients. The 11th ingredient in here is niacinamide, which as you know I love, but the 13th ingredient in here is witch hazel and rosemary leaf oil, which is very bad. So witch hazel basically leads to generation of free radicals in the skin, which damages collagen and can lead to premature aging. Oh, the smell of this is really very strong. This is a mistake for skin of color. I'm sorry, Benton, you get a 2 out of 10. Moving on to Etude Surprise Mineral SPF 50. It's $15, says sebum-free and non-sticky. So I'm really excited about this particular product for my oily, acne-prone skin of color family, because actually finding a mineral sunscreen that's good for oily skin is tough. As you know, I have been working on something for you guys. I can't talk about it yet, but the good news is we have just finally passed the test after about the 8th time of failing on that particular product. I will talk about it more in about 3 months time, but just watch this space for my oily, acne-prone skin of color family. But anyway, let's see how these guys have done, because maybe they've done a great job. Here, the third ingredient here is zinc oxide, but the fourth ingredient in here is denatured alcohol. This is a disaster. Plus they added in fragrance, i.e. this product is not nape safe. So let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so it's very runny and it blends really easily, and that's why they're saying non-sticky, good for oily skin. Now the thing is, with alcohol, because it evaporates quickly, you get that quick dry feel, and that's why it's used in foundation so much. The problem is that it also generates free radicals like witch hazel does, and will lead to premature aging. Plus it leads to inflammation of the skin. If you've already got acne, you already have inflammation taking place on the skin. So the last thing you want to do is add to that. This is a bit of an issue, to be honest. The fragrance is bad. I'm not happy. It's not nape safe. Sorry, you guys get 1 out of 10. Moving on to Missha Sun Milk SPF 50 PA4+, is $15. Again, very cheap. The fourth, oh, I like the feel. This actually feels very nice. It's very good packaging. The fourth ingredient is zinc, so I'm not sure how they're hitting SPF 50. The negatives are isopropyl palmitate, which is comedogenic, and that's a shame because it's so runny on the skin. Plus they added in denatured alcohol and fragrance. It smells like a soap. Your face should never smell like this, to be honest. Then they've got isopropyl myristate, which is irritating and comedogenic. Plus they've got in ethyl hexyl palmitate, which is also comedogenic. Oh, come on. If you don't know what comedogenic means, it means you're clogging the pores. And yes, a lot of it is to do with how you formulate the product, but first of all, you should really be starting off with ingredients that are non-comedogenic. But this one, I would completely avoid. It gets 0 out of 10. As you can guess, the winner is Klairs. Now you know the best Korean mineral sunscreen. Watch how to get glass skin.